see what that crossing is like. Sadly, there's no signal, and it's even a little bit shaky where we are here. We're in a bit of a low-lying area, so we have not been able to take you on. Hi, Philip. And I'm guessing the Thompson's gazelle. Philip, you like to know what is the fastest prey species they'll try and take down. I'm guessing possibly a Thompson's gazelle would be the fastest, but I cannot be 100% certain which is their fastest. I'm guessing it is that, though, in this area. These guys, though, have the benefits of taking down slightly larger, slightly slower prey. Wildebeest is their favorite source of food. At least it has been in the last few months. The only other things we've seen them feed on is one... Oh, let's get the Tommy silhouetted there, straight ahead of us, or is it something else? They've killed one impala after dark, and one to the right. The front's dewlap flapping from side to side as it runs, and it's got a few birds on its back, but sadly the signal is no good, so we are sending you back to Djuma. Let's hope Shadow has a bit of luck with her hunting.
Well, unfortunately we've lost sight of Shadow, so she's disappeared into that thicket, so we've just come back to her sister and her younger brother, basically. So little Hosanna, who's directly in front of me and hasn't really moved too much. He hasn't gone up into the tree as I thought he might have. I thought by this time of the afternoon he might have gone in, but he hasn't. He's still watching over towards the side. Maybe with all the commotion of the squirrels and the various other things, he's been watching where Shadow was, and I wonder if Thandi hasn't just walked a little bit closer, and that's why he's still kind of watching her. You can see he's very intent in looking in that sort of westerly direction, so I'm sure he's kind of checking out where she is and wondering what's going on. But he definitely hasn't been into that tree to feed. Neither of the carcasses have moved at all. So hopefully sometime soon he will be doing so. Petro, you want to know how we identify the different leopards? Well, Petro, I think everybody's got a slightly different way of doing it. The most scientific and the most reliable way is to use the spot pattern. So when I talk about the spot patterns, you see on Hosanna there above his whiskers, he's got 3 spots. So 3 big black dots above the whisker line, and those dots you count as 3, and then you'll count on the right hand side however many he's got, and that will give you a spot pattern, and it's unique to every single leopard. So that spots above the whisker line will be different on any leopard on the right and left side, and the combination of those spots. Other people will use other markings around the eye area, nicks in the ears, notches in the ears, any distinctive marking on the coat, like Tingana with a smiley face on his left shoulder. Short tails. Salahesh used to have a short tail. The tip of her tail was taken off by hyenas, so she had a slightly shorter tail. So those are all different things, but they also all have a different look about them. So they all have a different shape of the face, a different sort of body structure. And earlier we said it was Thandi from the top, but as we kind of got round and she stood up and she started to limp, that was a definite sign that she was Shadow. And I was actually talking to Seb about it. I said when we were looking at her at one point, I wasn't 100% sure it was Thandi, and I kind of just got into the moment of it, and you're so excited about just seeing a leopard in golden light drinking that I didn't really think about it too much. But some of them are quite similar, and so that you would then use spot patterns to check, but they all have kind of different looks. So Hosanna has a sort of darker colored eyes to me, and has a kind of boxy face, as opposed to Tumba, who's a little bit stouter in the muzzle and greener colored eyes. So the more we see them, the easier it becomes for us to identify them, because It's like when you see your dog. If you buy a dog and you have your dog every single day, and even if another dog that is very similar comes along, you still can tell the difference between the two. And that's how it comes with the leopards. If you see them regularly, you do get to kind of recognize them, but the spot patterns is the best way to do it. And so if you're still unsure about the spot pattern sort of way of things, I'm going to try and show you a photo that I can explain it a little bit better, because I know it can be sometimes quite tough when it comes to actually seeing these things on the animal, and there's lots of spots all over their face. So I'll just try and get you a spot pattern of a leopard, and then I'll be able to explain to you what I'm talking about. Alright, so let's use this one here, Seb. That's going to be the easiest one. So if you have a look here, this is Mvula that we've got, and so the spots that I'm talking about are these three spots where my finger is. So the 1, 2, and then the third one on top that creates that triangle. Now if we had to look at Hosanna, he has a very different spot pattern on the right side of his face. It won't look anything like that. So I'll try and see if I've got a photo of one of the other leopards on the right side. Here's Shongile. So you see Shongile, she also does have a triangle, but it's slightly different shape. Also her size and everything else will make it very difficult to be able to sort of mistake her and Mvula. But that's basically the patterns that we use in order to be able to identify these leopards and to be able to show who they are, or to recognize them and be able to know who is the individuals within this area. But Hosanna's definitely, I think you can see Tundi from wherever he's looking. I can't see her at all. It's getting to that time of the day where leopards are going to become very difficult to see. It's that strange light, and their body color just blends in with the grass, as we saw with Shadow as she disappeared earlier. And he might be able to see her from the line that he is, but I definitely can't see any sign at the moment. And she's now gone, well, he's now gone to sleep. Now this is very exciting, so let's quickly jump across to Scott Dyson, who's got some lions that I believe have encroached on the Cheetah brothers.
And thankfully to do next. A lot of competition between them, but sadly we are in a low signal.
Well, unfortunately, I apologize. There's a few little technical glitches, and I'm sure it's to do with the rainstorm that they're having in the Mara. But basically, there was a pride of lions that were chasing the 5 Cheetah brothers, and I believe the Cheetah brothers got away okay. But look, Hosanna's just bolted upright all of a sudden. I wonder if there's not something else that's lurking in this area. I know there's a hyena behind us at the moment, which we haven't managed to ID yet. We'll have to hope that that hyena stands up now that it's getting cooler. And maybe Tundi's walking through this drainage section and we just can't see her. But he bolted upright as though he heard something. I can't see anything from where I am. Is there some Franklins? There's Seb. Okay, so Seb has spotted some Franklins. So that's obviously caused him to bolt upright with the scratching in the grass. And when there's a number of other individuals around, one has to be quite careful. So when you've got things like other leopards and hyenas, you've got to be aware of your surroundings. So I suppose a Franklin could create a false alarm. But as I was saying, with Scott, the cheetahs, I believe, got away safely, so all was okay there. The lions just kind of pushed them off, which is pretty much the way things go. With cheetahs, unfortunately, they do have to scuttle away from lions every now and then, but I'm glad that they're all okay and that they managed to get away. Hosanna, are you watching the Franklins? You've got more than enough food. You don't need to worry about Franklins. I wonder. Come on, boy, it's time to go up and eat. I think he's too full at this stage for anything. I'm very surprised, though, that Tundi hasn't come back into this area and tried to move around. I'm just trying to see if I can spot Tundi, so I do apologize about my cap coming through the frame there. The way that we're parked at the moment, unfortunately, Seb is shooting straight over the bonnet, so sorry about that, Seb. But where we left Tundi is literally straight across from where I am now, so I can't see her at the moment. But I'm sure she is still there. Maybe she's still just taking a bit of a nap and resting. Those ears are working overtime. You see how they're twisting and turning? As the wind blows, there's rustles in the leaves and the grass, and Hosanna is listening to all of this. Now you can hear the francolins. So the francolins are alarm calling at him. Tony, you're wondering if cats are nearsighted or large cats? No, Tony, not as far as I know. I've seen leopards and lions spot animals from way in the distance that you and I would never be able to see. So they're able to see from a long way away as well as very close to them. So their vision is excellent throughout, and because they have the eyes on the front of their head, they have that binocular vision, which means that they can really see very well and judge depth very well. So they can see quite a long way into the distance. I've watched a leopard in a tree once that was on a river system, and we had a great field of views that we could see down the riverbed, and that leopard reacted to a bushbuck that crossed the river that was probably, I would say, at least 600 to 700 meters downstream from where we are. So really good eyesight, and the only reason we spotted it is because my tracker was actually scanning with binoculars across the riverbed, and he picked up this little dot crossing the river, but the leopard most certainly saw it because its demeanor changed and stared in that direction and really kind of looked carefully as much as possible. So they do have incredible eyesight. You can see that little dewlap is starting to form. There's a little throat patch that's coming out at the bottom. Chitty Chatty Meg. Oof. This is always a terrible one, and I know a lot of you make fun of me about this, but it's just the way it is. You want to know, do I have a favorite leopard? Chitty Chatty Meg, all of the leopards are firm favorites of mine, but adult females, most certainly Thandi is my favorite that we see in this area. Of the younger generation of females, Tiani, and then of the big males, Mr. Anderson, and of the little males, Tumba. So those are my kind of top 4. I have a very big problem. I can't really dislike any leopard. I like them all and would love to spend time with all of them as much as possible. And I was actually talking to Ali about it the other day. I would imagine what it would have been like to have spent pretty much 24 hours a day with the likes of Hosanna and Shingile and just see what they've gotten up to over the last few months and document this process as they've tried to survive on their own. It would be fantastic. So I have a problem that I like all leopards, but of the adult females, like I say, Thandi, and of the big males, Anderson, but the younger generation, Tiani and Tumba. It's all T's, really. I wonder if there's something in that. Except for Anderson, he breaks the mold. What are you stalking now? You can't stalk francolins. You've got 2 carcasses in the tree. Look how it's instinct. It's amazing to watch the instinct. Even just movements triggers him off. So, Darlene, I didn't hear you clearly, well, I didn't hear Megan clearly, but I think you said what sense do they use mostly when hunting? Lena, I think it depends on the situation. Sometimes they'll use their sense of smell. So I've seen leopard and lions often sitting, and all of a sudden a gust of wind comes and their nose goes up and they pick up something and they go and they start heading in that direction. But once they actually sort of find where that animal is, eyesight becomes the predominant feature that they use. So they'll use their eyesight more than anything else. Their whiskers will also play a huge role, particularly in the night time, because what you'll find with them is those whiskers have sensory organs, and as they move through the grass they're picking up vibrations. And so in the dark night, when they're trying to stay as low as possible and not give themselves away, and their eyes are just over the top of the grass, those whiskers are picking up what they can't see. So they will use whiskers a lot, but their eyesight is their predominant sort of sense when hunting. It's interesting because the smaller cats, so something like a serval, its hearing is what it's going to use more than anything else. We've been fortunate enough, and I know a couple of the guides have had servals hunting and catching mice, and you'll see how those big satellite-like ears just twist and turn, twist and turn, twist and turn until they hear, and then they pounce on their prey items. So you'll find bigger cats like lion and leopard are more eyesight-based, but those smaller ones will use their hearing quite extensively to hunt. Oh, I think he's flopped back down. I thought for a second he might roll over and decide to start going towards the tree, but it looks as though he's going to spend his evening as sleepy as possible. just needs now for Thandi to arrive, and I would have been very interested to have seen if Shadow had come here, what would have happened between these three. It would have certainly thrown a spanner in the works, and I don't know of any sightings of Hosanna and Shadow together, so it would be quite interesting to see those two and whether or not they have come across one another, and whether the Shadow would be as tolerant as what Thandi has been so far. Right, it's time to start our school drive, so we're going to jump across to Miss McCurdy so she can say hello to everybody, and we'll see you all in a little bit.
It's very exciting to have you all here. We've obviously got some new people who have joined us, and it's the Jessamine County Public Library as well as Santa Rita Elementary, all the way from Texas. Very, very happy to have you all this afternoon. Now it's quite dark here in Kenya at the moment. You can see that we're sitting with the pride of wonderful lions. How cool is this? Isn't this amazing? My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is Jar, and well, like I said, we're sitting in the Mara Triangle, one of the wildest places in Africa, and the lions have just started to wake up, and in the far distance, if you look, you can see some buffalo. I wonder if these lions are thinking about going and attempting to hunt one of them. They were sitting down. You can see they're getting up now and they're moving away. I wonder why they are. I wonder if they have seen the lions, maybe. Now, the cubs, there are 4 of them. They look very excited. They're just all starting to play around now. They're climbing up on the termite mounds. You can see there's 2 different sets of cubs. The one set of cubs looks relatively old. Maybe just over 6 months or so. I'm not familiar with these prides of lions just yet. I'm just starting to learn them. And then the others look, the other one looks like it's going to pounce. Look at it stalking. Ew! Jumping up and onto a sibling. So that's not a big lion, the one on the right. The others look like maybe they're 3 or 4 months old. They're quite young still, maybe a little bit older than that. But the lionesses are just sitting back watching. They know how important it is, of course, to observe their prey, because it's not an easy thing for them to go after. There's one adult. She's just sitting there now. Look how focused she is. See how her ears are pricked forward? She's watching those buffalo with intent. Now, there isn't really too many zebra around, or wildebeest, which is surprising because we are in the peak of the migration at the moment, but they seem to have moved off. So those zebra and the wildebeest, they're constantly moving around, searching for the greenest of green pastures. I can't even say the words correctly, pastures, and also looking for new water sources. But I think they'll be back, because we did have lots and lots of rain over the last few days, so the grass should get nice and green this side. But they've gone to Tanzania for the moment, and hopefully they'll come back here. Now, Steph is sitting in the studio, and he has got one of the scariest creatures out here that lives in the Mara River. Oh, sorry about that. They've come back to us. Sorry, Ja. We're going to reposition just slightly here. I don't know what happened with Steph. It seems as though he doesn't have any sound coming from his mouth, so he's probably just doing this. Don't worry, you'll listen to my voice. Now, I'm just going to quickly go down here and try and get a better spot. Ooh, there's lots of zebra that have just joined the party now. That's going to be exciting. I'm going to go underneath so we can watch the lion cubs, because the adults are just watching for the moment. But while they decide what they're going to do and what they're going to want to hunt, let's watch these lions as they climb around. And it's very, very cool with the dark skies. Let me see. I don't want to put too much light on them. Let me see if I can get my spotlight out. I'll just put a little bit of light on them. See, these cubs are quite young, especially the ones at the back, so I don't want to spot them. They're not going to be used to the light, so I'll just shine the light on the ground, and then a little bit of it will sort of head up towards them. But the others are coming. I'm just going to drop the spotlight. The others are also just moving in now. There they are. They're very excited though. Now they're too young to be hunting. Now, Gunnar, you're wondering at what age do lions get their manes? Well, it's a young boy, normally at about just under a year or so. You'll start to see they get hairy chests, can you believe it? So they get fluffy, sort of bit of fluffiness underneath their necks, and only once they're about 6 or 7 years old or so do they actually get their big proper manes that's fully grown. But we're going to see what these lions do. We're going to figure around and play around with the infrared. We won't put any more lights on them because it looks like they're going to maybe hunt something a bit later. I'm going to send you back across to Steph now, and hopefully he'll actually be able to make sounds out of his mouth.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the river cameras here on the Mara River in Kenya. Quite close to where Taylor is, although I am nowhere near to where she is at the moment. These are remotely controlled cameras that are located on the banks of this river. And that means that we can watch these animals doing things that we wouldn't be able to normally see if we were sitting there. Now, these are some hippos' heads that are just sticking out of the water. And hippos come out at night time to eat grass. And we have some hippos that are outside eating some grass. Could we go to main north camera, please, Jerry? Jerry is the director of the show, and she can change to the picture. There we go. That is main north camera. And you can see that that's what a hippo looks like. These are young hippos. They're not very old. And they are eating grass using their lips to pull the grass up. So if you have a look at a cow, the next time you can see a cow in the neighborhood where you live, or possibly on a farm close by, you'll notice that they use their tongue and their teeth to pick grass. Hippos use their lips. Now what I want you to do is make your lips into a hard line. So everybody just make your lip into a hard line, a hard flat line. Makes you look very silly, doesn't it? Now imagine being able to pick something using your hard lips on the ground. Try and pick up your pencil or your pen on your desk using your lips. That is how a hippo picks up grass. Simeon, you want to know where in Africa we're filming from. Simeon, we're in Kenya, which is up on the equator, halfway up Africa, on the eastern side of Africa. In other words, if you're looking at an African map, on the right-hand side of the map, about halfway up, you'll find a relatively block-shaped country called Kenya. If you put your finger in the middle of Kenya and you pull your finger to the bottom left-hand corner, that is where we are. We're on the Mara River, right close to Lake Victoria and Tanzania. We're just in the bottom left-hand corner of Kenya. And that is where we're busy watching these hippo. This is the Mara River, this fast-flowing stream, and we're looking at hippos on the banks of the Mara River right now. Now, Ransom, you wanted to know why hippos are so dangerous, and the answer to that question lies in this picture. Hippos are dangerous for two reasons. Mainly because of people trying to feed themselves. People in Africa grow their foods on the banks of rivers because it's easy to get water to their crops. Rivers also carry very nutritious sediment, sand, to feed their vegetable gardens. And people get fish from rivers and water from rivers. And basically, that means that people and hippos are in constant contact with one another. And hippos are dangerous. But something else that's dangerous is a crocodile, and we've got some crocodiles eating something at Cul-de-sac Crossing. So let's go there quickly and go and see a crocodile feeding frenzy at Cul-de-sac Crossing. There we go. That is a group of gigantic crocodiles. A couple of hundred, maybe even a couple of 1,000-pound animals that are busy eating something in the river. Those flashes of white that you can see are the crocodile's teeth. What's happening over here? Yeah, these crocodiles are fighting for food. Can you see that? So something has died, or they've caught something in the river, and now all these crocodiles are coming to eat it together. And if we're very, very lucky, we might even get to see crocodiles spinning. There we go. There's crocodiles spinning. They can't chew their food. They have to rip pieces of the food off by spinning. And they are spinning at the moment in circles. Then, there we go. Oh, there's some huge big meat going in there. Wow. It is something big that these crocodiles are eating. I don't know what it is yet. It's difficult to see. Let's see if they make another spin. Might be a wildebeest. Might be a zebra. I can see, oh, there's another crocodile spinning. There we go. Isn't that just amazing? So very similar to sharks in that aspect, is they can't chew off pieces of meat, and so they spin off pieces of meat. I still can't see what they've managed to catch. All right. What we're going to be doing is sending you 3,500 miles south to South Africa, where my friend Tristan is sitting with a beautiful cat.
Well, we are indeed in a very warm welcome to Jessamine County Public Library and Santa Rita Elementary to sunny South Africa, which is now not so sunny because our sun has just set. And we have the most elusive of the big cats sitting behind us. Now, my name is Tristan, as Steph said, because I have Sebastian on camera with me. Getting all tongue-tied with all this S's this afternoon. But we have this young male leopard who's sitting here and he's very, very sleepy, and that's because he's got a belly full of food. So he's managed to kill an impala yesterday morning, and he's been feeding on that for 2 days. And then this morning, another female leopard came into this area, which is unusual to see two leopards together, and she managed to make another kill, and this male has now got both the kills up in the tree. So that's the tree that the kills are in. There's the one kill over there, which is an impala that he's managed to grab and is eaten all of it really. There's only a little bit of meat left, and then the other kill is right up at the top of the tree, and that is called a steenbok, and it's a small little antelope that we get in this particular area. So he's going to have a lot of food for the next day or two. There's the steenbok. You can see a bit of the fluff and fur that is draped over the tree. And now the leopards do that because of hyenas. There are actually hyenas around. There was one hyena that was here, and the hyenas will try and steal the food from the leopard. So he has to be clever and put his food in the tree so as the hyenas don't get to it. And you can see, look, he's put his head up now. He's starting to yawn, which is good news for us, because hopefully it means he's going to wake up and he's going to go up into the tree and start feeding. Look, he's looking up into the tree, he's looking at the carcasses. He's maybe going to start looking to go up because it's now starting to get a lot cooler. We had a very warm day today, and so it's now getting cooler and it's time to feed. George, you want to know how I spot the difference between a cheetah and a leopard? Well, George, the easiest way for that is for me to show you the difference. So I'm going to try and get my book out, and we're going to be able to then show the differences between these two beautiful cats. I've got to just try and find them in the book quickly, so you're going to have to bear with me for a little bit, George, and give me 2 seconds because the cheetah are somewhere in front here. Alright, so let's go with the leopard first because that's what we can see. So if we have a look here in our book, there is the leopard. Now the leopard is a very, very short animal in comparison to the cheetah. The cheetah is much taller, and you'll find that the leopard is very stocky, so it's very powerful and it's got lots of muscles and strength in its shoulders. You'll also see that it's got these little white markings underneath the eyes. So you see that there, those are very, very white. Okay, and then the spots of a leopard are different to that of a cheetah. The spots of a leopard, I'm going to try and see if I can get a better photo of the actual leopard's coat because it's much better. Alright, here is probably better, Seb. But the leopard spots, you see, they almost look like the spots have exploded. So there's a little gap between the spots, and there's little gaps in between them, and so these are actually called rosettes and not spots. The cheetah will have proper spots and will not look like this. So I'm going to try and find a cheetah for you quickly. There we go, there's wild dogs, so it must be very close. Alright, so there is... Oh, my page is all stuck together because of some rain that we had a while ago. But there we go, there's our cheetah, and we can see now a little bit more clearly that the cheetah, you see it's got solid spots. It doesn't have rosettes like the leopard has. And then look here, you see it's got a big black line that is running from its eye down to its mouth that almost looks like tears that are coming down. So the cheetah has those, that is different from the leopard. And you also see that the cheetah has a very small round head, whereas the leopard is a lot more powerful and has got a big thick set shoulders and powerful head. And the cheetah is a very slender, long, thin animal. If we look at some of the pictures down below, you can see that it is very tall. Look how long its legs are, and very thin, so it's built for speed and not for power. If we think of the leopards are more powerful animals, and they are built to be able to climb trees and go into places, whereas the cheetah is more speed. And I know that the cheetah are a lot more up in the Mara than what we see here. Here in South Africa is a great place for our leopards. So there we go. Hopefully that helps you a little bit more, and you'll be able to then recognize the difference between the two. Kate, you want to know how long they'll feed off one kill. Well, Kate, it depends on the size of the kill. So in this case, these kills are both quite small. So this leopard probably will be, I would say, another maybe 2 days that he'll be killed. I'm just moving so we can try and get you a better view of our leopard. How's that, Seb? Is that a bit better or a bit more forward? Okay, so we're going to just go forward a little bit. There we go. So I would say probably another 2 days, because he's now got a new kill. If he hadn't had that new kill that he got this morning from that female, you would have found that he would have finished that older one in probably this evening and would have been gone by tomorrow morning. But it depends on the size. A big antelope like an impala sometimes will take them 2-3 days to eat, whereas something small like the steenbok, which is the other animal in the tree, that will normally only take them about a day. It also depends on how they've fed. You can see he's got a big fat tummy, so he's not going to be able to fit much in there, whereas if he was very skinny and he hadn't eaten for a few days, then he would be able to wolf down all of this food in the night and then leave this area the following day. So it just depends on how they've been feeding and also how much food they've actually caught. But he'll still be here for quite some time, and I'm sure the female that killed that other small steenbok, she's actually not far from us. We saw her this afternoon, and she was about, I would say, 100 meters from where we are now. So she might show up at any minute now as well, and we'll get not only 1 but 2 leopards, which is super rare, and it'll be very exciting if we do get that second leopard coming towards the tree. I was hoping, though, that this time of the day that he was going to go up and actually climb into the tree and start feeding, because it's amazing to watch how much power they have when they try and climb, and when they use those big powerful front legs and they grip their claws into the tree and they scramble their way up as they go towards the food. It really is impressive. And if he does jump into the tree, we're going to find the hyenas are going to come running here. So I'm hoping that that's what's going to happen, but it looks as though he has had a really long day and that he's going to sleep more than he's going to be active. Sunny, you're wondering if the cheetahs and the leopards live together. Well, Sunny, the cheetahs and leopards do live in the same parts of Africa, so you will find that there is leopard and cheetah in this particular part of South Africa, and the same in the Masai Mara, but they occupy slightly different ecosystems. And so what we mean when we say ecosystems is that you'll find the leopard will often move around in dense, thick vegetation, so where there's lots of trees, lots of long grass, and where there's these big steep drainage lines. Now, drainage lines are areas where water moves, so like a riverbed, and leopards love that because they ambush predators. They're very, very powerful, but they're a little bit slow, and so they need to be able to get in close to an animal and then surprise it by jumping out. So that's where they like. Whereas cheetah, because they're very fast, they like to have very open areas where they can see a long way and there's nothing that's going to hurt them when they're running. So not too many trees, not too many bushes, and they're able to then use those areas. So even in a place like this, we'll find leopards that will be in the thickets, and the cheetahs will try and be in the big open grasslands like what you see in the Masai Mara. So they do occur in the same general area, but they will have slightly different places or ecosystems that they like to spend more time in. It's not to say that you won't find a leopard and a cheetah together. I have seen leopard and cheetah in the same sighting before, and it's very dangerous for a cheetah because a leopard is a lot stronger than what a cheetah is. Now we're going to sit with our leopard for a little bit longer, see if he wakes up. If he doesn't, there is also some lions that are not too far away that I want to go and see what they're up to. And so we'll spend a little bit longer with him. And while we do that and watch him snoozing away, let's go across to my friend Taylor and her lions in the Mara.
Hello again, everyone. We're still sitting with our lions. Now they've crossed the drainage line, which is really, really good news for us. You can see one lioness and the little ones have actually joined her. I thought they were told to stay behind on the other side of the drainage for safety, because if they do go over and chase the buffalo, and there were also huge herds of zebra that have just joined us too, they're still quite far away, those little cubs will be in danger. They could actually get killed. So that's why Mom will hide them away and say, right, you sit here until I've caught you dinner, and then I will call you to come through and eat. But these cubs are naughty. They don't really want to listen to their mothers. Now, Lauren, you're wondering how much do lions weigh? Well, it depends. So the females are much smaller than the males. The females only get to about, I'd say about 150 kilos for a female, but a big male can weigh anywhere between 180 and I would say about 210 kilograms. So they're not small animals. But what's more impressive, Lauren, is not how much the lion weighs, but how much the animals that the lions are hunting weigh. For example, a buffalo. If you've ever seen a picture of a buffalo before, it's difficult to show you in the dark because they've moved off over the horizon. But a big buffalo bull can weigh about 800 kilograms. That is huge. And the lions can take that down quite easily. Wondering how do we record the animals without scaring them? Well, Ethan, can you believe it? These animals are actually used to us, not us as people, but in the cars. So they become habituated to the vehicles. They're not bothered by it at all. And now we're using our special infrared light, which is a light that the lions can't really see. The buffalo, the zebras. So it's great. We're seeing complete darkness. Almost dark. There's a little bit of light still, and just on the horizon in the west where the sun is just set. I can't see lines from where I'm sitting. I have to use the little monitor that I've got below me to actually see what Jar's filming. But that's cool. So even though there's a reflection on their eyes, there isn't a lot to earlier. We don't have that. That's been put away. How cool is this? Oh, they're all coming back. So it doesn't look like they're going to hunt, just to wait for it to get completely dark. Now we're going to go to Tristan, and I don't know what he's managed to find, but he has had a lot of luck with leopards.
We have had lots of luck with leopards, Taylor. It's been a leopard-filled afternoon. So earlier today I managed to see another 2 different female leopards as well as this male. So we've had leopards everywhere today, and it's been really quite something and very special afternoon. But our male leopard is still very sleepy, and this is not a fully grown male leopard. So even though he looks big and bulky and like he's got a big head, he's actually not the biggest male out here. He's still a young male, and he's going to get bigger as he goes. Now you might hear a vehicle coming behind me. That's because we have lots of people that are coming to see these animals from all over the world, and they're coming to have a look at the leopard. Now, Levi, you want to know what age do leopards begin to hunt? Well, Levi, sometimes leopards will already start hunting small things like insects and mice and rodents at the age of 4 or 5 months old, so sometimes very early in their life. Most of the time, though, we'll find them starting to really hunt and concentrate on hunting when they reach about 8 months to a year. That's when they're going to start chasing birds and mice and really trying to hunt. They'll only really start catching big animals like this when they're over a year old, so impalas and varying other antelope species or things like deer that we have out here in South Africa, and that's when they'll start, is really only after a year old. This particular male is a very interesting one because here, unfortunately, his mom disappeared when he was still very young, much younger than what he should have been on his own, and so he had to learn how to hunt very quickly, and he's done so well because he's learned and he's been able to feed himself even without his mom from a young age. So he's done incredibly good job, and he's growing to become a really pretty beautiful leopard. Now he's got his head up, so I wonder if maybe he's going to start waking up for us. I hope that he is. You might notice that we're in black and white, and that's because we're in infrared. It's starting to get dark here in South Africa, and that means that we don't have much light to work with, and the camera then battles to be able to see what's going on. So we put on the infrared so that we can see these cats without having to turn lights on and disturb their eyesight. Kelly, you want to know if leopards eat anything they catch, or do they only eat certain animals? Well, Kelly, a leopard has got the biggest variety of food. So they like lots of different things, and they'll eat pretty much anything. So they eat anything from insects like termites all the way up to baby elephants, baby giraffe, baby hippos, baby rhinos, those really big animals, and everything in between. So they really will eat anything that's made of meat. You'll very seldom hear of a leopard eating anything else. They sometimes do actually eat grass, but that's to clean out their system and to get their stomach into good health. So it's not because they're hungry for grass. They'll eat meat only, but they do sometimes chew on grass every now and then. But they do have a very varied diet, and like I say, they eat a lot of different things. But here in this particular part of the world and where we are, most of our leopards will target small to medium-sized antelope. That's what they're going to be going after, and that means things like the impala and the steenbok. But did you see he's yawning? Now, yawning is a good sign that he might stand up. He's getting oxygen into the lungs, and he's going to try and get the lactic acid that's built up from him sleeping all day to move around the body. So we might get lucky and he might stand up. I'm hoping that he will, and that he'll go into the tree. No, he's just looking around at this stage. But if he yawns again, then maybe we'll have a better indication if he's going to stand up. It's a good thing to look for when you see a cat yawning. If it's been sleeping for a long time, it often means that they are going to start moving. No, he's just looking around. He's still very aware of what's around him, just making sure that there's no other signs of threats, because when he's got food like this, things like hyenas and lions and other leopards are going to be attracted to the smell, and those are all going to be dangerous. Oh, look at that yawn. Did you see how big his teeth are? He's got those massive canines that he has, and those are going to be what he uses to be able to hunt and to kill animals. And then the rest of his teeth are a little bit different shape. They're more triangular, which is what he'll use to actually eat the meat of the impala or the steenbok. There, look at that yawn. Simeon, you want to know if animals have ever tried to scare me away or scare me off. Yes, Simeon, I've had elephants, rhino, hippo, buffalo, lion and leopard all charge me and try and snarl and growl and trumpet and vocalize and chase me away. So I've had all of them at some point, and they sometimes it's because they're protecting their baby, sometimes they're injured and you come across them and you don't know that they're injured, or sometimes they're having a bad day. Particularly with the elephants, they can sometimes be a little bit grumpy and they've had a bad day, and then they just decide that you're going to irritate them, and then they get a little bit cross and they chase you away. So you do see it from time to time from them, and I have been chased by them. But the best thing with that is when you just see an animal that's not happy and it's giving you some warning signs, so maybe it charges towards you or it trumpets at you or it growls at you, is to give them space and to move away from that animal and not stress it out in any way. And then what will happen is that animal, once you moved away, it will realize, okay, this is not a threat to me, and over time it will get used to your presence, and then it's going to be comfortable with you being closer, like we are with this leopard, and we won't have to stress the animal, and the animal won't be stressed by us, and we won't be stressed by the animal being aggressive to us. So it's all about being respectful to the animals, much like we need to be respectful to people. It's the same with animals. We need to be able to give them the space that they need, and if they show that they're not happy, then we move out the way. So you see he's standing up. I told you he'll move if he yawns a lot, and there we go. He's now going to start slinking off into the darkness that is the night. So he's not going up towards the tree, which means we'll probably end up leaving him in this area and letting him slink off down into the drainage and try to see if we can go and catch up with those lions that are not lying too far away from us. Olivia, you want to know if this leopard has found a mate. Olivia, no, not yet, because he's too young. So this leopard is only now, he's just under he's about just over a year and a half old, so he's not very old at all. Male leopards will only find a mate generally when they're 4 or 5 years old. Sometimes a little bit earlier, but most of the time 4 or 5 years old is when a leopard finds a mate, whereas this guy's still a little bit too young, so he's going to have to wait for a bit. He has to grow up, he has to get bigger. He's still a little small to be trying to mate with the females, so it's going to be a while. Now look, he's coming to the tree. I wonder, is he going to go up the tree for us? I hope he's going to go up the tree. It looks like he's going towards it. There we go. You see, he's looking. You'll see how quickly he'll go up. It's amazing to watch when the cats jump into these trees. They are so athletic, and the leopard has so much power. It'll be very quick. Yeah, I think he's going to go. Look, there we go. Up he goes, and into the tree. How cool is that? So it's always one thing to see a leopard. Oh, and up he goes to the carcass. So there is where the kill is, and that's what he's going to try and now start feeding on. Isn't this cool? Reese, you want to know how long the food will last him in the tree. Do you see how he's easily able to move in the trees? This is what makes leopards so special. Is unlike the other cats that really struggle in the trees and can't climb very well, leopards are completely at home, and look at how he's able to move around. It really is amazing. Now, Reese, the carcass will last probably... this carcass has lasted now just over 36 hours that he's had it, so it will probably last the night, and by tomorrow morning most of that will be gone, but then he's got another carcass, and that's why they put it in the tree, because it's going to last longer, because he doesn't have to worry about fighting hyenas up in the tree. And look, he's now sitting right at the carcass, getting comfy so that he can start eating. Or just to protect it and lie on his carcass, because when you have a food, sometimes you have to sleep on it if you're a leopard to make sure everybody knows that it's yours. So he's actually sleeping on the meat at the moment, which is not going to be very nice because he's going to be a bit stinky later. But I suppose he's just showing everybody that this is the carcass. Look, he's watching. I think maybe a hyena is coming this way, because there was a hyena behind us and he's looking behind me. So maybe the hyena is coming. Seb, can you see a hyena behind us? Yes, there's the hyena behind us. The hyena is going to come now, so hopefully we will see it. It's a young hyena that we've got behind us, so that's why the leopard in the tree is watching so carefully. But the problem is it's right behind where Sebastian is. So there you can see the hyena behind the car. So I apologize about the antenna, because unfortunately that's how we send our signal to all of you. But there we go. There's our hyena. So you see, look at how it's built. It's very different to the leopard. You see, it's got a angled back, not straight back like the leopard. It does have spots the same way, but it has a very powerful head, and that angled back is because hyenas are scavengers a lot, and when they do hunt, they try and chase animals for long periods of time. They don't have a short burst of speed like the leopard does, and so that's why they have a very different back structure to what the leopard does. Leopard sitting on top of his carcass, and we're probably then going to try and see if we can go and find those lions with the big male for all of you. And while we do that, let's go across to Taylor, who's still sitting with her lions, and hopefully her lions are going to decide to get up and move around and maybe head towards those buffalo in the distance.
Where she is. Let me reposition quickly. I think what I'm going to do, I'm not going to turn my lights on. I'm going to stay in the complete darkness. We'll find that lioness. Now, what I want to do is I want to get a better view of... I'm going to have to use my spotlight just to shine a little bit. I'm not shining on the lions. I don't want to put my big brights on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn us so that we're behind the lions, and that we'll be able to see the zebras just behind them. Also going to scan for this lioness. Now, a question from David. You're wondering if the lionesses would reprimand the cubs. Most certainly. I'm going to just duck quickly. Often, the lions are just to the left of us. You can just see that's just a roof that we have on. Sorry, David, I'm going to get to your question now. You can see the eyes as well every now and then from the zebra. We've parked on a horrible angle. I do apologize. We're just straightening out the camera. They will, and it might not be a reprimanding that you and I would know when you would discipline a child. It often ends up in growling, sometimes even swatting at the youngsters, or even just exposing their teeth. And I think they got too excited, these little ones. They were left in the drainage line, but they've also been sleeping for most of the day. So they've got all this pent-up energy. And you know what young children are like? They bounce off the walls when you try to put them to bed. And that's exactly what happens here. They don't want to do what's told. Now sit down in the grass, little ones, because a zebra are going to spot you. Now, it's not over just yet for these lionesses. They could still use the wind and, of course, the rumbling of the thunder and the pitch black of the night to move around in a better position for an opportunity to hunt. The zebra are just out of view. They're just sort of at the edge of where the light ends. They're not very far. I'm going to put my spotlight on again. I want to have a look. There are so many of them. I'm also scanning for that other lioness because I wonder if she hasn't gone around. Appeared in this long grass, and we can scan and scan and scan, but I think she's actually moved off completely. I've spoken about the various hunting techniques of lions before, and it's one that we see the lions doing quite a bit of in South Africa. Obviously, like I said, we're in Kenya now, in the Mara Triangle, and one lion, if it's a big pride lion, will normally go around and try and chase the prey towards another lion sitting in the grass just waiting. Maybe that's going to happen, but that'll be a little bit dangerous tonight, especially with those cubs now being out in the open and completely exposed. That would not be a very good idea. The hooves of a zebra, of a buffalo, could quite easily trample those cubs to death, and that would be really, really sad. We would not want that to happen, but that's what nature is about, of course. It's not always good news for the little ones. Sometimes the prey end up winning, and I've been seeing a lot of that recently. Now, Jack, you're wondering how long will the cubs stay with their parents? Jack, it actually depends on the sex of the lion. So if it is a female lion, she'll probably stay within the pride for the rest of her life. However, in this area, we do see a lot of lions breaking away from main prides and forming sort of little sub-prides. If you're a boy, if you're a male lion, then typically when you get to the ages of about 2.5 years old, the big resident males are going to not tolerate you like they did when you were younger, and then the process of being pushed out starts. So anywhere from about 2 to 3 years old, they'll start going off and searching. Well, it's very tough life for young males once they leave their pride. They aren't big enough and strong enough to take on the other males in the area, so they sort of have to live in between the territories of the big males, and they become nomadic. It's a very tough life for them. A lot of males don't make it to adulthood. Now, Karen, you're wondering if the wind keeps the scent away from the zebra. Typically, yes, it would, and that all depends if they're downwind of the zebra. The wind is swirling quite a bit. When we first found this pride this afternoon, the wind was actually coming from a completely different direction. It was sort of more coming from the southwest, blowing up towards the zebra and buffalo. We didn't have zebra earlier. It was just a huge herd of buffalo. And now it's changed. Now it's swirling we're just at the base of the escarpment. So every now and then they have the wind in their favor, but then every other sort of minute it changes, and I think their scent is blowing towards the zebra, and I wonder if that's what startled those zebra. Now, Kate, you're wondering how far can a lion see in the dark? It's a difficult one to answer. I've never looked through a lion's eyes before, but their eyesight is exceptionally good, and it really is spectacular at night. You can imagine a zebra, a wildebeest, a buffalo can't really see very well at night. They have better eyesight during the day, but the predators become alive at night. So the way that their eyes are designed, it allows them to take in light, and that's why you see that sort of white stripe underneath the lion's eye that help reflects light back in to their eyes so that they can utilize it and actually see a little bit better. So I'm not exactly sure in distance how far away they'd be able to see, but definitely much further than you and I. Well, I can't see anything at the moment. It's complete darkness. Now, Carla, you're wondering how old are females before they become a mom? Well, I would say that a lioness will come into estrus for the first time maybe around between 2.5 and 3.5 years old. But just like you and I are completely different, the same thing applies to animals out here. Some might mature a little bit quicker than others. Some might take a little bit longer. And they might not even breed within their first estrus cycle. But she's up again. She's scanning around. Look how tall the grass is. So it's actually should be quite easy for her tonight to hunt because she's got so many things on her side. She's got the wind. We'll just quickly recap in case there are any new viewers who have just joined us. So she's got the wind. She's got the darkness. There's clouds. And yesterday was full moon. So she's lucky about that because if the moon was out, Oh, they would have, the zebra and the wildebeest and the buffalo would have spotted her from miles away. And then she's got the rumbling of the thunder. And then, of course, this tall grass is fantastic. Look how they completely disappear in it. Just see their ears. Now, a common misconception and that a lot of people will sort of hear, and they hear that lions and most of the predators only hunt at night. And Leia, you're wondering exactly that. Lions are opportunistic feeders, so they will hunt whenever they want to hunt. Sometimes a warthog may stumble across a pride of sleeping lions in the long grass, or the same thing might happen with a wildebeest or a zebra. They're not going to say no to it. They will most certainly charge after it, so they take any opportunities that they can get. But it looks like everything is calmed down for the moment, but I suspect we'll sit here for just a little bit longer and see if things develop. I am going to say goodbye to all of you who are watching this live broadcast, but keep a lookout for that notification, because you never know what might happen next. So, from all of us here at Wild Earth, we'll hopefully see you in a little bit.
Well, as you can see, we've left our leopards leopard, should I say, up in the tree sleeping, and not more than, I would say, 300 meters away is a whole pride of lions. So you can see there is females and a very big male that is with them at the moment. And this is a pride that we see the most here in this part of the Sabi Sands. It's called the Nkuhuma pride. And there's 5 adult females and 6 cubs that are about just over a year old now. And then there is this big male lion that is with me right next to the vehicle over here. Now, he's part of 4 brothers, or coalition members, should we call it. They're not all related and are not all brothers. They are from the same pride, but they are not brothers per se. They're not from the same mom. And this particular male, he is called Mfumo, and so he spends a lot of time with this particular pride, and I believe they had a wildebeest kill last night that they ate, and they've finished that, and so now they're just resting and sleeping away the day and into the evening. But look at the size of his paw. You see that paw is probably bigger than my hand, and it'll probably be about the size of my face. It's massive. It really, really is, and that will be able to do a lot of damage. So he's got a very big paw. Noel, you want to know what lions like to eat? Well, Noel, it depends where you are in the world, but here in the Sabi Sand Game Reserve in the northeastern corner of South Africa, our lions love buffalo. They want nothing else but buffalo. They will catch wildebeest and zebra and impalas and giraffe from time to time, but what they really want is buffalo. They really like buffalo, and they enjoy eating buffalo and hunting buffalo, and that's what they look for mostly. In the Masai Mara, where Taylor is with her lions, those lions will like to hunt wildebeest a lot more, because there's a lot more wildebeest than there are buffalo. They will go after buffalo, but they will prefer to hunt zebra and wildebeest because there's a lot more of those animals. Then if you go into other parts of the world, so if you go into the Kalahari Desert, there the lions will hunt an animal called a gemsbok, which is a very large antelope, or an eland, which is one of our largest antelope. And an eland will weigh close to 2,000 pounds. So that's what they'll go after in the desert areas. But here in this part of the world, buffalo is the #1 choice for our lions. They love a bit of beef. That's what they want when they go after food. Layla, you want to know if they only hunt at night? Layla, no, they don't only hunt at night. All cats, lion, leopard, cheetah are opportunistic. So what that means is that they'll hunt at any time of the day. So they might hunt in the morning, the afternoon, in the middle of the day. But at night is better, because at night, look at how well they blend in. If I move my light away, you can see those on the edge of the light, how they just very difficult to see. But the lion's eyesight at night is very good. They're able to see incredibly well, and then it becomes easier for them to hunt. So they like hunting at night because it's easier than hunting in the day, but they will hunt in the day as well. I was hoping that if we were with this pride at this time of the day, though, talking about night, is that we might hear them roaring, because they like to roar at night time to establish their territory and tell everybody that this is my area and my place, particularly the male. Avery, you want to know how many lions are in this pride? Well, there's 5 females, 6 cubs, and this big male that's not always with them. So this male will come and go quite a bit. He'll sometimes be in this area, sometimes he won't be, but the pride itself is 5 females and 6 cubs. 6 cubs are 5 females and 1 male, so there's 1 male that's got a tough time. He's got 5 sisters and 5 mothers basically to sort, well, 1 mother and 4 aunts to sort him out, so he's going to have a tough time of it, but he has some company from dad every now and then. But they are all very fast asleep. The one female is looking around, but otherwise it's a little bit comatose. And unfortunately, that's really all we've got time for this afternoon. It's been an absolutely incredible afternoon. We've had lions and leopards and cheetah and hyenas, and it's all really been quite chaotic, and unfortunately our male has just passed some wind and it's very stinky. So Seb is just saying, wow, it's very stinky. But we really have been spoiled this afternoon, and I hope all of you have enjoyed it and that you've learned something with us, and we hope to see you all again soon on Safari Live. And for our rest of our viewers, we'll see you tomorrow on the Sunrise Safari.